Hello, everybody. We're continuing on with our Read Aloud Wonder by R.J. Palacio, and we are continuing on page 228, and then we will be reading to page 248. This part is called Understudy. Via brought home 3 tickets to her school play a few days after Daisy died. We never mentioned the fight we had over dinner again. On the night of the play, right before she and Justin were leaving to get to their school early, she gave me a big hug and told me she loved me and she was proud to be my sister. This was my first time in Via's new school. It was so much bigger than her old school and 1,000 times bigger than my school. More hallways, more room for people. The only really bad thing about my bionic Lobot hearing aids was the fact that I couldn't wear a baseball cap anymore. In situations like these, baseball caps come in really handy. Sometimes I wish I could still get away with wearing that old astronaut helmet I used to wear when I was little. Believe it or not, people would think seeing a kid in an astronaut helmet was a lot less weird than seeing my face. Anyway, I kept my head down and I walked right behind Mom through the long, bright hallways. We followed the crowd to the auditorium where students handed out programs at the front entrance. We found seats in the 5th row close to the middle. As soon as we sat down, Mom started looking inside her pocketbook. I can't believe I forgot my glasses, she said. Dad shook his head. Mom was always forgetting her glasses or lost her keys or something or other. She is flaky that way. You want to move closer, said Dad. Mom squinted at the stage. No, I can see okay. Speak now or forever hold your peace, said Dad. I'm fine, answered Mom. Look, there's Justin, I said to Dad, pointing out Justin's picture in the program. That's a nice picture of him, he answered, nodding. How come there's no picture of Via? I said. She's an understudy, said Mom. But look, here's her name. Why do they call her an understudy? I asked. Wow, look at Miranda's picture, said Mom to Dad. I don't think I would have recognized her. Why do they call it an understudy? I repeated. It's what they call someone who replaces an actor if he can't perform for some reason, answered Mom. Did you hear Martin's getting remarried? Dad said to Mom. Are you kidding me? Mom answered, like she was surprised. Who's Martin? I asked. Miranda's father, Mom answered, and then to Dad. Who told you? I ran into Miranda's mother in the subway. She's not happy about it. He has a new baby on the way and everything. Wow, said Mom, shaking her head. What are you guys talking about? I said. Nothing, answered Dad. But why do they call it an understudy? I said. I don't know, Augie Doggy, Dad answered. Maybe because the actors kind of study under the main actors or something. I really don't know. I was going to say something else, but then the lights went down. The audience got very quiet very quickly. Daddy, can you please not call me Augie Doggy anymore? I whispered in Dad's ear. Dad smiled and nodded and gave me a thumbs up. The play started. The curtain opened. The stage was completely empty, except for Justin, who was sitting on an old rickety chair tuning his fiddle. He was wearing an old-fashioned type of suit and a straw hat. This play is called Our Town, he said to the audience. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Philip Davenport. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes, 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. I knew right then and there that I was going to like this play. It wasn't like other school plays I've been to, like The Wizard of Oz or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. No, this was a grown-up seeming, and I felt smart sitting there watching it. A little later in the play, a character named Mrs. Webb calls out for her daughter, Emily. I knew from the program that was the part Miranda was playing, so I leaned forward to get a better look at her. That's Miranda, Mom whispered to me, squinting at the stage when Emily walked out. She looks so different. It's not Miranda, I whispered. It's Via. Oh my God, said Mom, lurching forward in her seat. Shh, said Dad. It's Via, Mom whispered to him. I know, whispered Dad, smiling. Shh. The ending. The play was so amazing. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's the kind of ending that makes people in the audience teary. Mom totally lost it when Via, as Emily said, goodbye, goodbye world, goodbye Grover's Corners, Mama and Papa, goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food and coffee and new iron dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up on Earth. You're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Via was actually crying while she was saying this, like real tears. I could see them rolling down her cheeks. It was totally awesome. After the curtain closed, everyone in the audience started clapping. Then the actors came out one by one. Via and Justin were the last ones, and when they appeared, the whole audience rose to their feet. Bravo! I heard Dad yelling through his hands. Why is everyone getting up? I said. It's a standing ovation, said Mom, getting up. So I got up and clapped and clapped. I clapped until my hands hurt. For a second, I imagined how cool it would be to be Via and Justin right then, having all those people standing up and cheering for them. I think that there should be a rule that everyone in the world should get a standing ovation at least once in their lives. Finally, after I don't know how many minutes, the line of actors on stage stepped back and the curtain closed in front of them. The clapping stopped and the lights went up, and the audience started getting up to leave. Me and Mom and Dad made our way back to backstage. Crowds of people were congratulating the performers, surrounding them, patting them on the back. We saw Via and Justin at the center of the crowd, smiling at everyone, laughing and talking. Via! Shouted Dad, waving as he made his way through the crowd. When he got close enough, he hugged her and lifted her off the floor a little. You were amazing, sweetheart. Oh my God, Via, Mom said, screaming with excitement. Oh my God, oh my God. She was hugging Via so hard, I thought Via would suffocate, but Via was laughing. You were brilliant, said Dad. Brilliant, Mom said, kind of nodding and shaking her head at the same time. And you, Justin, said Dad, shaking his hand and giving him a hug at the same time. You were fantastic. Fantastic, Mom repeated. She was honestly so emotional she could barely talk. What a shock to see you up there, Via, said Dad. Mom didn't even recognize you at first, I said. I didn't recognize you, said Mom, her hand over her mouth. Miranda got sick right before the show started, said Via, all out of breath. There wasn't even time to make an announcement. I have to say she looked kind of strange because she was wearing all this makeup and I've never seen her like this before. And you just stepped in there right last minute, said Dad. Wow. She was amazing, wasn't she, said Justin, his arm around Via. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, said Dad. Is Miranda okay? I said, but no one heard me. At that moment, a man who I think was their teacher came over to Justin and Via, clapping his hands. Bravo, bravo, Olivia and Justin. He kissed Via on both cheeks. I flubbled a couple of times, said Via, shaking her head. But you got through it, said the man, smiling ear to ear. Mr. Davenport, these are my parents, said Via. You must be so proud of your girl, he said, shaking their hands with both hands. We are. And this is my little brother, August, said Via. He looked like he was about to say something, but suddenly froze when he looked at me. Mr. D, said Justin, pulling him by the arm, come meet my mom. Via was about to say something to me, but then someone else came over and started talking to her, and before I knew it, I was kind of alone in the crowd. I mean, I knew where Mom and Dad were, but there were so many people all around us, and people kept bumping into me, spinning around a bit, giving me a 1-2 look, which made me feel kind of bad. I don't know if it was because I was feeling hot or something, but I kind of started to feel dizzy. People's faces were blurring in my head, and their voices were so loud it almost was hurting my ears. I tried to turn the volume down on my Lobot ears, but I got confused and turned them louder at first, which kind of shocked me. And then I looked up, and I didn't see Mom or Dad or Via anywhere. Via, I yelled out. I started pushing the crowd to find Mom. Mommy! I really couldn't see anything but people's stomachs and thighs all around me. Mommy! Suddenly, someone picked me up from behind. Look who's here, said a familiar voice, hugging me tight. I thought it was Via at first, but when I turned around, I was completely surprised. Hey, Major Tom, she said. Miranda, I answered, and I gave her the tightest hug I could give. All right, we're continuing on with part 7, Miranda. I forgot that I might see so many beautiful things. I forgot that I might need to find out what life could bring. And that's by Undane, Beautiful Things. Camp Lies. My parents got divorced the summer before 9th grade. My father was with someone else right away. In fact, though my mother never said so, I think this was the reason they got divorced. After the divorce, I could hardly ever see my father, and my mother acted stranger than ever. It's not that she was unstable or anything, just distant, remote. My mother is the kind of person who has a happy face for the rest of the world, but not a lot left over for me. She's never talked to me much, not about her feelings, her life. I don't know much about what she was like when she was my age. Don't know much about the things she liked or didn't like. The few times she mentioned her own parents, who I've never met, it was almost It was mostly about how she wanted to get as far away from that as she could when she'd be grown up. She never told me why. I asked a few times, but she would pretend she hadn't heard me. I didn't want to go to camp that summer. I had wanted to stay with her to help her get through the divorce, but she insisted I go away. I figured she wanted alone time, so I gave it to her. Camp was awful, and I hated it. I thought it would be better being a junior counselor, but it wasn't. No one I knew from the previous year had come back, so I didn't know anyone, not a single person. Not even sure why I started playing this little make-believe game with girls in the camp. They'd ask me stuff about myself, and I'd make things up. My parents are in Europe, I told them. I live in a huge townhouse in the nicest street in North River Heights. I had a dog named Daisy. Then one day I blurted out that I had a little brother who was deformed. I had absolutely no idea why I said this. It just seemed like an interesting thing to say. And of course, the reaction I got from the little girls in the bungalow was dramatic. Really? So sorry, that must be tough, etc., etc. I regretted saying it the moment it escaped from my lips. Of course, I felt like such a fake. If Via ever found out, I thought, she'd think I was such a weirdo. And I felt like a weirdo. But I have to admit, there was a part of me that felt a little entitled to say this lie. I've known Augie since I was 6 years old, and I've watched him grow up. I played with him. I watched all 6 episodes of Star Wars for his sake, so I could talk to him about the aliens and bounty hunters, and all in all. I'm the one that gave him the astronaut helmet he wouldn't take off for 2 years. I mean, I kind of earned the right to think of him as my brother. And the strangest thing is that lies I told, these fictions did wonders for my popularity. The other junior counselors heard it from other campers and they were all over it. Never in my life have I ever considered one of the popular girls in anything, but that summer in camp, for whatever reason, I was the girl everybody wanted to hang out with. Even the girls in Bungalow 32 were totally into me. These were the girls at the top of the food chain. They said they liked my hair, though they changed it. They said that they liked the way I did my makeup, though they changed that too. They showed me how to turn my t-shirts into halter tops. We smoked. We snuck out late at night and took the path through the woods to the boys' camp, and we hung out with the boys. When I got home from camp, I called Ella right away to make plans with her. I don't know why I didn't call Via. I guess I just didn't feel like talking about stuff with her. She would have asked me about my parents, about camp. Ever never really asked me about things. She was an easier friend to have in that way. She wasn't serious like Via. She was fun. She thought it was cool when I dyed my hair pink. She wanted to hear all about those trips through the woods late at night. School. I hardly saw Via at school this year, and when I did, it was awkward. It felt like she was judging me. I knew she didn't like my new look. I knew she didn't like my group of friends. I didn't much like hers. We never actually argued, we just drifted away. Ella and I badmouthed her to each other. She's such a prude. She's so this, she's so that. We knew we were being mean, but it was easier to ice her out if we pretended she had done something to us. The truth is, she hadn't changed at all, but we had. We'd become these other people, and she was still the person she had always been. That annoyed me so much that I didn't know why. Once in a while, I'd look to see where she was sitting in the lunchroom or check the electives list to see what she'd signed up for. But except for a few nods in the hallway and occasional hello, we'd never really spoke to each other. I noticed Justin about halfway through the school year. I hadn't noticed him at all before then, other than that he was the skinny, cutish dude with thick glasses and longish hair who carried a violin everywhere. Then one day I saw him in front of the school with his arm around Via. So Via has a boyfriend, I said to Ella, kind of mocking. I don't know why it surprised me that she'd have a boyfriend. One out of the three of us, she was totally the prettiest. Blue eyes and long, wavy dark hair. But she just never acted like she was interested in boys. She acted like she was too smart for that kind of stuff. I had a boyfriend too, a guy named Zach. When I told him I was choosing the theater elective, he shook his head and said, "Careful, you don't turn into a drama geek." Not the most sympathetic dude in the world, but very cute. Very high up on the totem pole. He's a varsity jock. I wasn't planning on taking theater at first. Then I saw Via's name on the top of the sheet and just wrote my name down on the list. I don't even know why. We managed to avoid one another through the most of the semester, like we didn't even know each other. Then one day I got to theater class a little early, and Davenport asked me to run off additional copies of the play he was planning on having us do for the spring production, The Elephant Man. I heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I started skimming through the pages while I was waiting for the Xerox machine. It was about a man who lived more than 100 years ago named John Merrick, who was terribly deformed. We can't do this play, Mr. D, I told him when I got back to class, and I told him why. My little brother has a birth defect and he has a deformed face, and this play would hit too close to home. He seemed annoyed and a little unsympathetic, but I kind of said that my parents would have a real issue with the school doing this play. So anyway, he ended up switching to our town. I think I went for the role of Emily Gibbs because I knew Via was going for it too. It never occurred to me that I'd beat her for the role. What I miss most. One of the things I miss most about Via's friendship is her family. I loved her mom and dad. They were always so welcoming and nice to me. I knew that they loved their kids more than anything. I always felt safe around them, safer than anywhere else in the world. How pathetic that I feel safer in someone else's house rather than my own, right? And of course, I loved Augie. I was never afraid of him, even when I was little. I had friends that couldn't believe I'd ever go over to Via's house. His face creeps me out, they'd say. You're stupid, I'd tell them. Augie's face isn't so bad once you get used to it. I called Via's house once just to say hello to Augie. Maybe part of me was hoping Via would answer. I don't know. Hey, Major Tom, I said, using my nickname for him. Miranda. He sounded so happy to hear my voice it actually kind of took me by surprise. I'm going to a regular school now, he told me excitedly. Really? Wow, I said, totally shocked. I guess I never thought he'd go to a regular school. His parents have always been so protective of him, I guess. I thought he'd always be that little kid in the astronaut helmet I gave him. Talking to him, I could tell that he had no idea that Via and I weren't close anymore. It's different in high school, I explained to him. You end up hanging out with loads of different people. I have some friends in my new school, he told me. A kid named Jack and a girl named Summer. That's awesome, Augie, I said. Well, I was just calling to tell you I miss you and I hope you're having a good year. Feel free to call me whenever you want, okay, Augie? You know I love you always. I love you too, Miranda. Say hi to Via for me. Tell her I miss her. I will. Bye. Bye. Extraordinary, but no one there to see. Neither my father nor my mother could come to see the play on opening night. My mother because she had this thing at work, and my dad because his new wife was going to have a baby any second now and he had to be on call. Zach couldn't come to the opening night either. He had a volleyball game against Collegiate he couldn't miss. In fact, he wanted me to miss the opening night so I could come cheer him on. My friends all went to the game, of course, because all their boyfriends were playing. Even Ella didn't come. Given us choice, she chose the crowd. So on opening night, no one there was remotely close to me was even there. And the thing is, I realized in my third or fourth rehearsal that I was good at this acting thing. I felt the part. I understood the words I spoke. I could read the lines as if they were coming from my brain and in my heart. At my opening night, I can honestly say I knew I was going to be more than good. I was going to be great. I was going to be extraordinary. But there would be no one there to see. We were all backstage, nervously running through our lines in our heads. I peeked through the curtain at the people taking their seats in the auditorium. That's when I saw Augie walking down the aisle with Isabel and Nate. They took 3 seats in the 5th row near the middle. Augie was wearing a bow tie, looking around excitedly. He had grown up a bit since I'd last seen him almost a year ago. His hair was shorter, and he was wearing some kind of hearing aid now. His face hadn't changed a bit. Davenport was running through some last-minute changes with the set director. I saw Justin pacing offstage left, mumbling his lines nervously. Mr. Davenport, I said, surprising myself as I spoke. I'm sorry, but I can't go on tonight. Davenport turned around slowly. What? He said. I'm sorry. Are you kidding? I muttered, looking down. I don't feel well. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That was a lie. It's just last-minute jitters. No, I can't do it. I'm telling you. Davenport looked furious. Miranda, this is outrageous. I'm sorry. Davenport took a deep breath like he was trying to restrain himself. To be truthful, I thought he was looking like he was going to explode. His forehead turned bright pink. Miranda, this is absolutely unacceptable. Now go take a few deep breaths and... I'm not going on, I said loudly, and the tears came to my eyes fairly easily. Fine, he screamed, not looking at me. Then he turned to a kid named David, who was a set director. Go find Olivia in the lighting booth. Tell her she's filling in for Miranda tonight. What? Said David, who wasn't too swift. Go, shouted Davenport in his face. Now. The other kids had caught on to what was happening and gathered around. What's going on? Said Justin. Last minute change of plan, said Davenport. Miranda doesn't feel well. I feel sick, I said, trying to sound sick. So why are you still here? Davenport said to me angrily. Stop talking and take off your costume and give it to Olivia, okay? Come on, everybody, let's go, go, go. I ran backstage to the dressing room as quickly as I could and started peeling off my costume. 2 seconds later, there was a knock on, and Via half opened the door. What's going on? She said. Hurry up, put it on, I answered, handing her the dress. You're sick? Yeah, hurry up. Via looking stunned, took off her t-shirt and jeans and pulled the long dress over her head. I pulled it down for her and then zipped her up in the back. Luckily, Emily Webb didn't go on until 10 minutes into the play, so the girl handling hair and makeup had time to put Via's hair up in a twist and do a quick makeup job. I'd never seen Via with lots of makeup on. She looked like a model. I'm not even sure I'll remember my lines, Via said, looking at herself in the mirror. Your lines. You'll do great, I said. She looked at me in the mirror. Why are you doing this, Miranda? Olivia. It was Davenport, hush shouting from the door. You're on in 2 minutes. It's now or never. Via followed him out the door, so I never got a chance to answer a question. I don't know what I would have said anyway. I wasn't sure what the answer was. The performance. I watched the rest of the play from the wings just off stage next to Davenport. Justin was amazing, and Via in that heartbreaking last scene was awesome. There was one line she flubbed a bit, but Justin covered for her, and no one in the audience even noticed. I heard Davenport muttering under his breath. Good, good, good. He was more nervous than all of the students put together. The actors, the set directors, the lighting team, the guy handling the curtains. Davenport was a wreck, frankly. The only time I felt any regret, if you could even call it that, was at the end of the play when everyone out for their curtain calls. Via and Justin were the last of the actors walking on stage, and the audience rose to their feet when they took their bows. That, I admit, was a little bittersweet for me. But just a few minutes later, I saw Nate and Isabel and Augie make their way backstage, and they all seemed so happy. Everyone was congratulating the actors, patting them on the back. It was that crazy backstage theater mayhem where sweaty actors and stand euphoric while people come worship them for a few seconds. In that cush of people, I noticed Augie looking kind of lost. I cut through the crowd as fast as I could and came up behind him. Hey, I said, Major Tom. After the show, I can't say why I was so happy to see August again after so long or how good it felt when he hugged me. I can't believe how big you've gotten, I said to him. I thought you were going to be in the play, he said. I wasn't up to it, I said, but Via was great, don't you think? He nodded. 2 seconds later, Isabel found us. Miranda, she said happily, giving me a kiss on the cheek and then to August. Don't ever disappear like that again. You're the one who disappeared, Augie answered back. How are you feeling? Isabel said to me. Via told us you got sick. Much better, I answered. Is your mom here? Said Isabel. No, she had work stuff, so it's actually not a big deal for me, I said truthfully. We have 2 more shows anyway, though. I don't think I'll be as good as Emily as Via was tonight. Nate came over and we had basically the same exact conversation. Then Isabel said, Look, we're going to have a late night dinner to celebrate the show. Are you feeling up to joining us? We'd love to have you. Oh no, I started to say. Please, said Augie. I should go home, I said. We insist, said Nate. By now, Via and Justin had come over with Justin's mom, and Via put her arm around me. You're definitely coming, she said, smiling her old smile at me. They started leading me out of the crowd, and I have to admit, for the first time in a very long time, I felt absolutely happy. All right, next time Miss Stegbauer is going to continue with part 8, August. Thanks, everybody.